Good morning and welcome to K24 this morning. My name is Jeff Mote. If you're just joining us, it's 8 on the nose. And if you're joining us for the first time, what we do is look at the big stories in your dailies, but also dig deeper into what this really means as far as our discussion is concerned right here. Of course, yesterday it was all about the BBI launch, second draft now out. Lots to discuss as far as this is concerned and how we move forward from this particular point. And of course, yesterday, one thing was constant. Everybody calling for this national conversation, this national dialogue. What shape and form does it take and how do we move it forward? That's something we'll be discussing right here on the show. But also, every single morning, we look at the front pages of our dailies and see what we'll be waking up to. Let's start off by looking at the front page of our PD. Front page of the PD, battle lines drawn. Event to kickstart journey to reform the constitution through BBI turns into a political showdown as President Kenyatta accuses his deputy of insincerity in opposing the project, saying Ruto was fully briefed. You can get the story on page 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 12 of your PD. So it's really giving some thorough coverage on that particular story of your People Daily therein. Also, even as we look at matters referendum in the horizon and matters politics, a keen eye also been put as far as our health sector is concerned in COVID-19. Principal succumbs to COVID-19. Tononoka Boys head teacher, who together with 10 other teachers and students were diagnosed with virus, died after days in the intensive care unit. This is a story that you can get on page 2 of the People Daily. Yesterday's numbers as far as cases testing positive in the last 24 hours stands at 276, bringing the total caseload to 49,997. The details of that, once again, on page 2 of your PD. Also on the front page of your PD, Madira MP Gachagua arrested over 12.5 billion shilling fraud claim. That story can be found on page 13 yesterday. For the better part of the day, he was being grilled by DCI officers, and that story can be found in your People Daily on page 13 therein. Front page of the Daily Nation, Uhuru-Ruto clash. President Kenyatta tells off his deputy for abandoning Jubilee dream and reveals the DP was aware of the handshake with ODM leader Raila Odinga. Deputy President tears into BBI proposals. This also quite in detail, this particular story. You can get it in the Daily Nation. They're all talking about the campaign to amend the constitution off to a stormy start. Kenyans advised to make free choice. Of course, the rallying call yesterday, and it was reiterated over and over again. Jisome. Read the document for yourself so that you can make an informed decision on that. And that's a story that you can get in your copy of your Daily Nation. And as you look at that, we are also paying close attention to the numbers as far as COVID-19 is concerned. On page 12 of your Daily Nation, here comes the second wave, no COVID beds in a hospital. So it's a key issue of concern as a new wave of COVID-19 infections sweep through the country. Hospitals are full, ICU beds hard to come by, and fatalities rising at an alarming rate. That story is on page 12 of your Daily Nation. You can get all the details therein. Front page of the Standard now. Moment of truth, they call it. Uhuru reveals Ruto knew about handshake, says tribalism and idle youth are time bomb. DP makes case against BBI. Raila says it's game on. So everyone just casting their die and seeing which way it falls. You get the details of that in your copy of the Standard. They're calling it confessions. All the details of that as well in your copy of your Standard this morning. Finally, we look at the front page of the Star. Ruto has turned his back on me. Uhuru says, amid heckling, DP lays out reasons why he may oppose BBI document launched in Bomas. President says they worked well in the first term, but DP has become impatient. Of course, there was an analogy that he used there, speaking about the relay that was done. But at some point, Ruto started running in the wrong direction. Amid laughter right there, and that is what is making front and center as far as your Star is concerned. So those are the front page stories that you'll be waking up to this morning as you get yourself a copy of your People Daily. But also we have a very able panel, some who are at Bomas of Kenya. I caught a glimpse of them there, dancing of course as well, and sharing in the conversation that took place there, and we'll be having a conversation here as well as far as this is concerned. Welcome aboard. This is K24 this morning. And even before I get to my panel, as always, we'll set the stage for this particular discussion. Even as we do that, let's start off with our question of the day. What is the most pressing issue you want the BBI to address? Lots has been discussed, but from where you stand, wherever you are across the 47 counties, what is the most pressing issue you want the BBI to address? As you read it, remember, Ojisome, what pressing issue do you want it to address first out of that particular stable? You can send us your messages, the WhatsApp number at the bottom of the screen. You can also get me on Twitter at @IamJeffMortem or at K24 TV. Now, even as the Building Bridges initiative was launched yesterday, 2022 politics took center stage with former Premier Raila Odinga, Deputy President William Ruto and President Uhuru Kenyatta hitting at each other, even as they shared light moments. At some point, Nixon Kisaka with the political undertones that took place during the momentous occasion.
Na kwa kweli hata mimi nitajisomea.
Even as the top political leaders shared the same stage during the BBI report launch at Bomas of Kenya, the event could not escape the politicians as President Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Odinga ganged up to support the document while Deputy President seemed to read from a different script.
So if you tell me it is okay for some players, for some teams, not all the teams participating, to appoint the referee, if that's what we are saying, I have my reservations. And I need to be persuaded, like many other Kenyans, that that is fair.
This resulting into what could be described as a contest between the Deputy President and the former Premier.
And we agreed that we will bring this to the people of Kenya. And we want an uncontested referendum. We don't want wengine wanakwenda sisi tunasema la si nini. No, let's bring it here.
President Uhuru Kenyatta, I am here. Kimunya is the Prime Minister because he's the leader of majority. We have Jimmy Angwenyi, who is our deputy as a deputy Prime Minister, and maybe Maoka Maore as one of the deputies. So what happens to the whole NASA brigade together with Musalia and all these other people?
Ndio, naitwa really. Unakimbia ule mwingine anakugojea pale anatakikana kukugojea ndio ashike aendelee, si ndio? Lakini sasa my brother William hapa amepinduka anakimbia nyuma.
And even as other leaders present gave their opinions on the BBI agenda, President Kenyatta cautioned political leaders over divisive politics.
And let us not entertain the side shows. Because there are too many side shows that are detracting us from where we want to go, that are stopping this country from being that great country that our forefathers saw it to be. And I believe that together we can achieve it.
Kwa sababu tukienda hivi mvutano watu wameanza kukataa wengine wanakubali tutaenda pale na mabazuwe kwa sawa si watoto wetu tunalaumia kule chini.
And as the BBI convoy now begins its implementation process officially following the launch, political heat is expected to rise even further. Nixon Kisaka, K24 TV.
Thanks for that, Nixon Kisaka, just setting the stage for some of the discussions we'll be having right here. Let me get to my panel and introduce them. As I said, some of them spotted in Bomas, sharing a light moment before the actual conversations began. Former Nairobi County Speaker, Madam Beatrice Alachi, good morning.
Morning.
Karibu.
Asante.
You're one of those I saw.
You've got keen eyes. Yes, I was just feeling the moment, Jeff, yes. And I was like, you know, when we started the Embrace, people laughed at us. People wondered, what is this? But now they've seen the fruits of it.
Right.
And they've realized why we had to follow this document, because you realize on matters of issues, you have to really work so hard for our male colleagues to understand what we are seeing. It's very unfortunate for this country.
Yeah. We also have Joy Mdivo. She's the Executive Director, East Africa Center for Law and Justice. Good morning.
Morning, Jeff.
Karibu.
Asante sana.
You were meant to be here yesterday.
Yes.
And then,
but I was missing in action.
Yes.
I live in a neighboring country.
Glad you could make it today, though. Thank you so much for your time. Someone who's joining us on Skype, he was also at Bomas yesterday. I also caught a glimpse of him because I think everybody who was there had to, take part in the jig at one point or another. Daragwa MP is also the chair of the CIOC, Honorable Jeremiah Kioni. Good morning, Jeremiah.
Morning.
Karibu, Jeremiah. Welcome to the show.
Asante sana.
I just want us to start this off first by looking at the dailies and the front pages that we've had and the conversation that has taken place since yesterday at the Bomas. Look at the front page of the Standard. They're calling it the moment of truth. Star Ruto has turned his back on me, says Uhuru. Front page of the Daily Nation, Uhuru Ruto clash. Front page of the PD, battle lines drawn. Joy, for a document that's supposed to be bringing everybody together and giving an air of consensus and finding a way to compromise, the dailies are really talking about a different story. We're talking about battle lines and clashes taking place for a document that's supposed to be uniting people.
Yeah, and that's what we're trying to say on air. Sometimes in the quest of paying the bills, the media sometimes can lose sight of what is important. This entire process there's a lot that has been lost in translation. A lot has been lost in politics because of always trying to find out, is it here, is it there, is it up, is it down? And you find that there's a lot that is in the BBI document that has got absolutely nothing to do with politics, but the only bits we see are the bits that have to do with politics. And it is unfortunate because having interacted with the document and looking at it, there are things that, as the Deputy President pointed out, probably are worth a second look, but most of the document is quite acceptable across the board. There's plenty in it that Kenyans can glean benefit from. But would you know, because at this point where we have reached, it's more like what the President was calling the sideshows. It's more about the optics, who said what, the jeering, the booing, and quite frankly, as a country, we should get to a place where we became impassioned about things and decided to just interrogate things for what they're worth. Glean what you can, discard what you must, and at the end of the day, forge ahead together. Because you've correctly pointed out, and the President and Honorable Raila have repeatedly told us, building bridges is about bringing Kenyans together. Ni uwiano na utengamano, ni maneno na utu na ubuntu. What we saw yesterday is a lot of that happened, the utu and ubuntu part, but it got to some place where it degenerated into not so much. But now it's time to refocus the discussion. Yesterday was the necessary ramsatars, it's over. Now can we refocus the attention on what really tunapitisha or what is it tunaangusha? And that's why that mantra of jisome is very important. That thing of Flani has read, we have all read, that thing has got to die. It's only 156 pages. Kenyans, let's just buckle down and read this document and understand what's in it. Okay.
Madam Alachi, I'll come to you on this one as well, because even as you talk about issues of shared prosperity and the divisive elections that we've had, is the ground ready for this particular discussion? Because we even saw, as Joy points out, towards the end of the event, a bit of heckling going on as the DP was speaking right there. And this is the point where now we go and have this national conversation that we're talking about. How do we have them ready to actually have this dialogue take place across the country?
Well, first of all, I think we need to start as a country by just listening to Mama Pendo. I think what she said is something that we must carry forward as we relook at the whole process. Yes, a bit of heckling. I think the heckling was where people started shouting, respect the president, respect the president, which I also thought so, because I think one of the things that we just need to do, if we are talking about national ethos and that unity, and there are some issues that you feel, yes, I am not just willing, there is a way you can converse on it, and at that time, you would be in that respect to say, can I just wait that we launch this, and then we'll have time for me even just to call the media and sit down and thrash out the document now, and for Kenyans now to understand. I think that is why they started respect the president. But having said that, I think that, as Joy says, the document is a document that carries really most of the issues that we have been talking about. And for me, we need to just look at the document in three ways. One, what are the policy issues that need to be taken away and be done? I can see we have roughly 20 to 25 bills that need to be amended, and I'm hoping Parliament can pick on that. And then after that, now you throw to us and tell us, look, this is what now goes to the referendum. That way, Kenyans will start understanding the document, that yes, it's a document, we have policy in it, and the steering committee was very clear. This is a perpetual process. So it's a process that moves. I just want to say that sometimes when you look at how politicians, we do things, and I can see in the papers Migori residents, which I want to laud them, that yes, it is time to tell lawyers and politicians to stop twisting words and let Kenyans understand things in a layman's language, that this is what we are talking about. If it is the 35% that is coming to Migori County, we tell the residents that the document proposes for counties to have 35%. Now, if 15% has brought in some change, it means you're going to see tremendous change when you support this document. The other thing is, we look at, I know there was a draw line on the issue of the Senate. And I want to tell women, let us stop pretending with the men and playing the games. First of all, we have to appreciate, for the first time, we have 47 women who are coming into the Senate. They will be doing bills. They will be voting on it. It is a plus. And then we ask ourselves, the clause of affirmative action is a sunset clause, meaning it is going to end. So where are we as women? Right. What do we get? That is why we go back to the National Assembly and be an organized team that can work around and convince the steering committee that within this 70 seats, we have to have slots for women so that we have a 1/3 in the National Assembly. Okay. But for anyone to just come and say, you have carried, so the men in the Senate, because there was the issue of resources. So then why have we agreed men to be in this Senate when there's no resources? Okay. Now, when women are coming in is when we have realized, oh, that Senate does not have resources. It is very wrong.
There's a man who's not in the Senate, he's in the National Assembly. Let me bring in Honorable Kioni on this one as well, because from what we heard yesterday, and this was also brought out by the Deputy President, in the sense that what we're doing now, even as we move forward with the Senate in this proposal, is watering it down, degrading what should be an upper house, even with this gender parity that we're trying to put forward. Are you of the same sentiment with that particular change as far as Parliament is concerned?
Thank you, Mote. And I want to agree with the speakers, and I'm happy to be here. One of the things that I think we need to mention, and this is where I think we'll have a disconnect, is the history part of this constitution-making process. Those people who were there when the document was still a draft, Boma's draft, and the former Prime Minister went through those drafts, have some history, and they can actually tell where we may want to eventually go as a country. As to whether we can remain on that line of thought, it may be difficult. I say this because I totally agree with what the Speaker Erachi is saying, that we need to wake up to some of the things that are not spelled out in the document that we have, the Constitution of 2010, loudly, like the issue of a sunset clause. There are some affirmative actions that are supposed to be coming to an end, and they will come to an end at a given time. And one of them is, of course, the issue of the third gender rule, or the third gender rule. The issue of having women's seats in terms of women reps at the county level was supposed to have been voted for the last time, if I recall well, 2022. But what this document has done is now given presence of women in the elective body, some permanency. It's no longer, we are not going to have another sunset clause. But there is also another angle that needs to be done. And I don't just want to dwell on this particular issue alone. I want to say that there is the other angle that we need to see now, that when you talk about Parliament, it is not Senate and then National Assembly, but Parliament includes both Senate and the National Assembly. And when you look at the two-third or third gender rule, we'll be looking at the totality of the institution. So that is one of the aspects that needs to be thought through. But these issues, Mote, will only come out clearly if we again avoid the sideshows and focus on the real issues, what are the articles that we are dealing with. If we allow ourselves to be carried by the politics, and a little of it, we saw it yesterday, then I think we will lose out. And again, we will lose out on what, again, Arashi has said, what Mama Pedo and Baba Pedo came to bring out. That is the solution that we are looking for. How do we avoid ourselves getting so, we get so violent during elections? How can we ensure that the country, stability in the country is guaranteed for a longer period than 5 years, so that we can be able to grow jobs or the economy and create employment for our young people? So I saw that, sideshow. I also call it sideshow at Bomas. It was unfortunate. I think we should not have done that. A little bit of not being honest on the part of the DP, because one, it was told to us that he has been part and parcel of this whole process from the beginning. But also, I want to pick issue with the example he gave of Kimunya. He picked Angwenyi and picked Maoka Maole. I don't know why he left Wangwe out of it. And if you look at all the individuals around there, and then of course address to the issues, why are we where we are as Jubilee in the National Assembly, other than for the misbehavior that we had a little bit earlier on in the term, that the thing that we want to achieve today with this expanded executive actually was showing during the beginning of this term. And I want to persuade Kenyans and ask Kenyans that let us focus on what is being provided for in this amendment. And as it was clearly brought out by the president, it is work in progress. Nobody should say I'm objecting, because idea is bring the ideas you want on board. If they can be accommodated today, well and good. If they cannot be accommodated today, allow us to move on. I said this 2010, and it came yesterday. There were those who said no to the 2010 Constitution. But it has given us an opportunity to discuss the amendments that we have now today. If we do these amendments now, they will allow us another opportunity to discuss further amendments down the road, because it is this is a living document, and you adjust it from time to time to help us manage ourselves as a people and as a country. Okay,
Honorable Kioni, I want to bring that to Joe even as we get closer to our first break. Honorable Kioni pointing out the fact that the example that the DP gave yesterday had an issue with the personalities that he chose, but some people think there was a valid question in there, because when you talk about divisive elections and winner takes all, really it's a high-stakes game, that if you don't get to the top, then you've lost everything in terms of your money, resources, all that you put on the line. And now that we have this proposition where you have the president who will appoint his DP, who will appoint his PM, the deputy prime ministers, and he asked, is this a solution to winner takes all? Valid question from where you stood.
It is a valid question. The BBI one, when it came out, remember, did not have this elaborate structure for the executive. So you would be forgiven to say that this is something that BBI 2 has introduced. And so it's a conversation that was not had prior, like when people are doing validation. It wasn't on the table then. So people didn't really get a chance to ventilate about it. And with him bringing it out, okay, and I agree with Senator Elachi, maybe the context in which you put it yesterday was inappropriate for those who are observing. But I am of the mind as well that the DP was not really talking to the crowd that was seated in Bomas. He was speaking to his constituency, who was probably not in Bomas. That's why the conversation was not geared towards, and present company was not minded whether or not they agreed with him. Mm-hmm. He had something to say, and he went on to say it until he finished it. But that said, this is now beyond the validation. From what I understand, we are at the point where, are we going to pass this document, or are we not going to pass this document? And so even in starting that conversation, sometimes it's leading down a rabbit trail that may not yield anything. And so maybe the conversation ought to be, are we in a situation where we will allow ourselves time for that expanded conversation, or have we really gotten to the place where now it is a closed deal, we are only looking forward to Kenyans either accept it or reject it as it is? Be that as it may, there is something that the president also said that tied in with what the deputy president pointed out, and Musalia Mudavadi as well, I think, touched on it. This whole question is about tribalism. When you're looking for more space for politics, basically about tribalism. But I think it's Senator Elachi who just said, with 15%, most counties have seen funds cascading to the counties. If you talk to the ordinary Kenyan, as far as they're concerned, inclusivity is resources getting to them where they are. Mm-hmm. As far as they're concerned, that's inclusivity. It's not necessarily who's sitting at the top and who's sitting what. If I am able to have water outside my house, I'm able to take my children to school 10 minutes walk away, I'm able to earn a living 5 minutes away, I'm able to afford a comfortable lifestyle and feed my children without wondering. For many Kenyans, they would consider themselves included. And therefore, that's why I keep saying, there are questions of other things that may actually empower this inclusivity question rather than just the positions at the top. And that said, when it goes to referendum, Kenyans have the option of accepting it as has been drafted, or rejecting it in total. So whether or not we have that discussion, there is still an opportunity for Kenyans to have their say regarding what it is that they want. But in terms of, was it a valid question? I happen to think it was, especially because it wasn't in BBI 1, it's come in BBI 2. Maybe some of those things that are a new addition ought to be given some latitude for Kenyans to express themselves, because the last thing you want is a contested BBI. And that's one thing I think even Bishop Oginde said, stop with the hustling, stop with the reggae, can we all do at Jerusalem? We need to come to a place where, as far as possible, to build as much consensus as possible, because at the end of the day, we are not passing this law to score points. It's not football. At the end of the day, we are passing something for Kenyans to live with day by day. And as Honorable Kenny has said, fine, the ones who voted no have an opportunity to change this in future. Just the sheer cost of it, how much trouble it is important to make sure that we get as much included as possible, such that the need to change it down the line is minimized rather than doing it piecemeal. So there is benefit in trying to listen to as many Kenyans as possible, including divergent views, because in a democracy, the minority have their say, the majority have their way. So having their say is something that's even protected in our constitution as it is. So Kenyans would have that eye of more tolerance. Forget about the hardline stances, more tolerance. Okay, let's take a short break at this particular point in time. Of course, don't forget, we also have a question of the day that we're posing to you. What is the most pressing issue you want BBI to address? We've heard the political rhetoric yesterday. We saw how it played out at the Bomas. But from where you stand, what is the most pressing issue you want the BBI to address? Send us your message. The WhatsApp number is at the bottom of the screen. You can also get me at I am Jeff Mote or at K24 TV. We take a short break at this particular point in time. Come after the break, talk shared prosperity. Graft, how do you deal with these issues as well? That and much more after the break. This is K24 This Morning. Yes. Okay. Okay. Bwana Kioni, could you please...
Yes, Mote.
They are asking that you please increase the space between the top of your head and the top of your screen.
Like that?
Yes. I'm assuming you'll, when you start talking, you lean forward. Ama utakaa hapo nyuma.
Okay.
Sawa, sawa.
Is that okay?
Abu. Okay, but unajua atakuja mbele. Okay. Okay, yeah, that's fine. That's fine, Jeremy. That's cool. Also, we give short comments so we can go around the table so we can discuss all the issues.
Okay.
Yes.
Short.
Yes, please.
No problem.
Yes. I believe so. Honorable Kioni?
Yes, but...
Oh, you've heard what I was saying about, we just make sure we have short comments so that we can go around the table faster.
On what?
On the conversation after the break. Kutaongea juu ya shared prosperity and corruption.
And corruption?
Yes.
All right.
Okay. Yes. Okay. Sound. Okay.
No, why can't they? And then give us the bill. Let me ask you. Why can't they just keep the items? Some lawyers will pick the box, others will